Hello everyone, Hourglass Eyes here. We are finally going to look at the Jian. There's the box. Comes with a nice little card that is signed with the number, manufacturing number, 30 out of 200 for mine. Mine did come with a live blade. I don't know if they all do. I'll talk about that. Little pouch that says Log Design on it. And some extra hardware. The box has nice foam in it that holds everything. Here's the Jian. Quick little sound. We'll look at it. We'll talk about the good and we'll do comparisons before I talk about its issue. Because I feel like this has more good to offer. If two criteria are met. So let's go into comparisons. Alright, so to start with, just because it's the most accessible for everybody, the Vulp. This is the Will Hirsch Vulp. Let's see. They are more or less about the same size, I'd say. Maybe the Jian is just a tad longer at the handle and at the blade. Maybe not at the blade, actually. At the handle, yes, it is just a tad longer. If I line up the pivots, you can see literally just a hair longer. So there you go. Weird closing. My custom Alpha Beast, the anodized job there is looking a bit wonky in this lighting. So yeah, about the same size. It's a good average size. Here's my Hom. Of course, the ever popular Rep. So I mean, it's about the average size for any top tier flipper. The EX10. I'd say it has the most in common with the EX10. So I'm gonna leave that out, and we'll talk about it a little later. As far as fit and finish goes, it is very nicely finished. It's got like this matte stone wash. It's grippy enough, but it's also slippery enough. It feels good. I wouldn't anodize over it. I feel like if you were gonna anodize this thing, you should definitely get it polished first. Get all the stone wash taken off, and then do it. Unless you want a like darker matte color, I'd say change the finish. Maybe Bead Blast would look really cool on this, but this thing has a lot of like little tiny areas that I don't know if bead blasting would be able to get. Like stuff like in there. If you tumbled this to bead blast it, the media would have to be really small to be able to get in there. The edges are nice. Nice chamfer there. Crown spine, it's a favorite of mine. The trainer blade reminds me of an Alpha Beast. In fact, the live blade kind of reminds me of an Alpha Beast. There is said live blade. It is just a hair longer than the trainer. But, I mean, that makes sense. That's got a point. That doesn't. Since I brought this out, we'll talk about this. I'm going to set it down. But the main issue with the live blade is also the main issue with this thing as a whole, in that it came pretty much disassembled and with no guide as to whether or not the bushings and washers are tuned, it turns out they are not. But so that's the major glaring issue. It's because the washers and bushings and pivot screws that came pushed through each of the handles did not work well with the blades. So I had to do a lot of playing around with it. A lot more playing around with this than I should for its price category. Versus something like this in a similar price category that is absolutely perfect. And I'm being a hypocrite because I don't like to call things perfect. But, you know, even that's technically not perfect. I think we can see it has a little bit of play. You know. But still. I have gotten it to flip. And it has no tap. And it has fairly minimal play. Actually, I don't even know if you can see the play. So, I was able to get it very nice without any sanding, any work like that. But I did have to take all the extra hardware and basically play Guess Who with which hardware works in it and which does not. And so, I mean, let's talk about the hardware. It's another gripe I have. So it has like that Max Ace style pivot screw design where it looks double-sided, but it's not really. You can see a little damage there from me having to shove this thing together. The pivot screws were atrocious. They did not want to go through. Bad time. But that's okay. So the pivot screws are not double-sided, even though they look like they screw in from both sides. They do not. Only one side is real. The other side is like a fake thing that looks like a screw, but it's not. So you can't stick a screw bit in there. You can't Torx it. You'll strip it real quick and you'll fuck up the thing. So buyer beware of that. Also, buyer beware of the Zen pin screws. Okay, they are wicked shallow. I don't know if I can get it to focus in on them. There you go. So they are really shallow. I do not like them. They remind me an awful lot of Replicant, but even smaller. So that's a problem. They strip very easily. Versus on the Replicant, even though they still strip easily on a Replicant, they're slightly bigger. So there's more to grip onto when you're torquing it. So yeah, hence why I prefer hidden Zen pins. Also, I really just like this thing, so I kind of want to flaunt it, but there you go. So that is a huge issue. Especially for this thing's price. I mean, $680 is not cheap. It really is not. For what you get, I don't think it's worth it. And I'm going to tell you all that you shouldn't buy this unless you have the money to spend and you really like the look of this thing. If you really like the look of this thing, then, you know, if you don't mind dealing with possibly getting the same type of lemon issue as mine, where you'll have to play with the bushings and the washers and, like, get it together, it could be a very, very nice high-tier Bally. It flips very good. It doesn't necessarily remind me of any other really expensive Bally I've flipped. I suppose the handle feel is most comparable to a Monarch V2, just with the way that it's got these really angle cuts and the channel and then the speed channel. The weight of it is pretty good too. It's got a good weight. I think it was 4.6 ounces. So about comparable to a Replicant. It is not comparable to my Alpha Beast. So it could stand to be a little lighter for me, but I'm also really picky, you know. I've got this thing, and yeah, I've got the barrel spacers on it so to take weight off, and I've had the swedge cut back even further to shave more weight. So this thing really suits my preference as well as it can. That being said, it does flip fairly good. Now, it has taken me a while to get used to the way this thing flips. So this thing does flip very good, but the weight of it can sometimes throw me off. That's just because I'm used to flipping lighter ballies, you know, so that is not really a con, but it can surprise certain people. If you weren't expecting something super heavy because you saw that it was Thai channel with a lot of cutouts, it's a lot heavier than it looks like it should be. I don't know what type of Thai this is, but it's definitely not the same as a Monarch V2. So, whoops. For the price, not sure that it's worth it. If anything, I don't understand. So I don't understand why it's this price, is I guess what I'm saying. It's good. It's a good flipper. You know, if you don't mind the possible issue, it's a great bally. It looks good. It sounds good. You get a lot of bonus things, like you get a trainer and a live blade on a channel Thai knife. It's cool, you know. The design of it is really neat looking. It looks like a high tier thing. But why is it $680? I struggled to see. The hardware is not that great. The feel of the Thai reminds me of the Orca clone from when I had that. Just the way it's weighted. So it's probably a different grade of titanium, probably similar to that. You know, I would say cut the price. If you really got to have this thing be that expensive, geez, can't do a freaking backhand fan with this thing suddenly. You really want to have the price be a lot. I'd say the most I would ever be willing to pay for this thing again would be like $350. $350 if just one thing was fixed, and that's the hardware. Tune it, and I will buy it for $350, no problem. I'd say this would become worth it, right? For $350, this would be a real banger. For almost double that, I don't see the value there, other than it's unique and nobody's got one. So if you really like the look and you got that much to spend, then maybe consider it, but otherwise, no. You know, quality is all there. It's good quality. You know, the titanium doesn't feel shabby. The trainer blade's nicely finished. The live blade is decent. The hardware, that's a no-no. I mean, it reminds me too much of like Max Ace, and I don't like their hardware. That's preferential, but I feel like most people will agree with me that Max Ace hardware is not the best. So yeah, that is the review of the Thai Jian. If you have any other questions about this thing, go ahead and leave them down below. I'll try to answer them. If you enjoyed this video, comment, like, subscribe, you know, yada yada, all that shit. If you dislike the video or dislike me, go ahead and leave a dislike. It's okay. Won't hurt my feelings. Yeah. Thanks for watching, and as always, peace.